You know, Ken, I'm trying hard now to digest what actually happened there. You know, I think we probably at half time we thought we could probably get 36 points difference, which meant we would have come first. And I think we probably got seduced a little bit by, you know, how like into the style. We probably started thinking as a Black Sevens game, you know, and that probably helps them because they could see. I mean, they're a good team. So yeah, we did help them. I mean, you know, but the margins are so small. You know, we tap and run that one penalty, we get tackled out in the corner flag. Early on in the game, Cameron drops the ball or knocks it on the try line. I mean, that's something that we're going to have to be sharper on. And I can't be cross with him. I mean, there's 4 of the forwards who played today are 21 years old or 19 years old. I mean, Jay van Heerden's 19 years old, Cameron 21, Jan Hendrik 21, Ronald Ludwig 21. Now, if you consider that you're going to play, I said to you, this is the next step to test match rugby. Then the only way you're going to learn is you're going to have to go through these tests. And I think one of the things we'll debrief when I sit with them is, you know, we got to be a little bit more streetwise, and that only comes with time. So, you know, people say, should you have kicked for the corner? Should you have taken the 3 points? Again, I think the point is we're going to have to debrief as a group and see what was the best option. But I'm obviously very proud of the fact that we still get a win. To go and score 46 points against Bordeaux, and you go and look at how many times they concede 46 points, not often. So, and they've been dominating in France, even away from home. So, as I said, I'm happy. I'm happy about the fact that because there'll be lessons that we learn, and it's always nice to learn lessons when you've won. You know, it's a different speech if we had thrown that away.
There's 5 tries in the second half, Jake. I mean, that's obviously the disappointment, as you say. Maybe got
but Brendan, again, it's all relative. You know, 5 tries based on the fact once the French team knew they got their bonus point, they were going to have a go at us. I said the team we finished off with. I mean, Jeff van Heerden, 19 years old, Ronald Ludwigs on the flank at 21. You know, Keegan Johannes generally hasn't had much rugby time in the senior jersey. I mean, I don't want to say it's expected, but I mean, gee, there's no right to, you know, to keep out a team. I mean, you look at that team there. You've got Tamafuna on the, you know, I mean, he's played how many test matches, and then you get, you know, Carly Sadi coming in, and you know, he's a tight head, and I mean, that's the caliber of guys. Coleman and Kane Douglas both played test rugby. You know, so Pete Samo played for the Wallabies. So you're comparing apples with apples. You're comparing completely different makeup of groups. So it is disappointing, of course. I mean, you want to make sure that you stay in the fight, but we still managed to win with that group of players at the end, because we quite easily have thrown it away. And that's, you know, some would say to me, maybe I should have kept the team on for longer. Well, I changed the front row after 50 minutes. I put all the guys that were on the bench on, and the reason is I want them to experience that pressure. There's no way you can't mimic that, or you can't teach that to someone at training. So I'm very happy that they found a way to manage the last sort of 5-6 minutes and get a win.
Beyond Saracens game now, determined obviously, second or third, obviously determines whether you get home game or away game as well.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, the home game for me is actually, and I mean, I'd love to have a home game at Loftus, but it's actually, we play Dragons and then Leinster. And then if it goes according to plan and we get a home game, we've got to come back here, play here after being 2 weeks overseas, then come back here. If we win that game, we go back overseas to play in the quarterfinals, because the chances are you won't finish where we are now and then what will happen is then we're going to come back and play Munster. So it'll be, I mean, basically our schedule will be Dragons away, Leinster away, back home for a top 16, away for a quarterfinal and then back to Munster. And you know, I don't want to underplay anything, but geez, it's a hell of a tough task for a group of players that have got to fly back and forth, and with a depth and age profile of our players. But you know, the nice thing is at least we can if we get to second and we finish and we get a home top 16, then we've improved from last year. Because last year we made the top 16, but we lost to Toulouse away. So you know, at least there's growth and there's development and there's learnings that we put into place. So unfortunately you can't change the schedule, but who knows?
You mentioned Adam Coleman there. I thought for you guys, I'm the neutral in the room here. Ruan Nokia
Yes.
stood up incredibly well. He
Yes.
was at the central part. Everything that you did around that defensive piece,
Yeah.
everything you did around the attack.
Yeah.
He's not a player that springs to mind as Springbok. You guys produce locks like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe for him.
Well, look, I'm almost sure he'll become a Springbok. I mean, he's young. He's very young in his development as well. And there's a lot of, like, you say something to me which is so obvious. Someone said to me, but if we didn't have overseas players playing overseas, we wouldn't produce Ruan Nokia, which is hogwash. Because in the system of the old days, we produced Victor Bakkies, Johan Ackerman, Albert van der Berg, Ergie Snyman, Donnie Rousseau, Louis de Jager, Franco Mostert. So we are very gifted, and we had Paul Willemse, and we had Nicholas Janssen van Rensburg, and so the system actually helps our country. So as much as it's nice to produce him, he was always going to come through. Probably just been fast-tracked because of the fact that there's such a shortage of locks that are staying in South Africa. But I've got no doubt, if he gets to play with a good combination of locks, a lock pairing with him, he plays with Ergie, or if he plays with Louis de Jager, or he plays with one of the locks who've got lots of experience, and he plays with a Springbok team that's got a lot of experience. I mean, there's no reason why he won't be able to be good enough.
And amongst those youngsters, the old man, myself, had a fantastic game. He really showed some leadership for you as well today.
Well,
what was that leadership?
Well, he knows the Springbok leave finishes soon, and there's a couple of guys coming back, and one of them happens to wear the same jersey number that he's got. So, but that's good. That's pressure, and that's building competition in position. So he knows when Marco gets back. There's only one jersey and two players. So I'm chuffed that he's playing well, because he's important for our group. He's very important for our group, and I think you saw it today as well. The way he played, even last week against Bristol, he was outstanding. So I'm happy for him, because he's now got it right.
And last one from me, just on Bordeaux. What does it say about French rugby that they need Burros out of the French squad?
Yeah.
Romain Burros today. I mean, he was just.
Who are you talking about now?
Burros, the fullback.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I think it's just a generation of, like, we produce locks, they're producing outside backs now. If you consider, not only in Bordeaux, you look at the whole of France. I mean, all of a sudden there's a massive group of players that are really talented outside backs. I mean, I chatted to Madosh. Madosh is not staying at Bordeaux, and one of the reasons is there's so many outside backs that are available to Bordeaux, and they are in the other teams as well, in Jaminet, and they all. They're all very, very good players. So it is, but I'm sure he'll get a chance. I mean, I'm sure he's highly rated. People talk about him, and you saw today. And he's obviously one of the rated players in France.
Jack, just on next week, just as important different challenge, but the Lions coming.
Well, probably the same sort of challenge, because they play the same as Bordeaux. I think there's obviously they like to score tries. Their style's quite similar. So it's actually quite a nice game to go through this week debrief, because I think the sort of style and the questions we're going to get asked are almost the same. But it's a URC game. I want to give the team away with a couple of guys back, and I'm hoping that brings a new bit of energy to our group as well, because it's been a bit of a slog, and back and forth Bristol. We really looked flat today. I mean, I don't know why, but we looked flat. We didn't get to the breakdowns. We turned the ball over a few times when we just didn't. We just looked like we were dead on our feet. I mean, I know they were too, but geez, we looked like, we talk about altitude and speed and pace and tempo of the game. We looked as though we were sometimes 1 or 2 yards behind the ball as well. So hopefully, as I said, we'll debrief, and next week is no different. We get another Loftus game, and it's important for us to do well at Loftus.
Coach, what do you do with Devon Williams? Because it's quite a complicated situation.
Not really. I mean, he played well today again, and keeps playing like that. He's going to keep playing for the Bulls. Not many guys take a double World Cup winner off and move him to fullback, and that just says, how much we value the performance he's giving. And he was on the wing, Mark Madosh. I mean, there's a long season ahead, a very, very long season ahead, and I've said to you guys many times, one thing I probably learned last year is I wasn't flexible enough with selections. I probably kept the same groups together, didn't try different combinations. Probably thought that only one group of players would be good enough to win games. Whereas this year, I mean, Devin can start and Willie can be on the bench, and I'm not saying it's no different, but it's nice to know that you can still go with that route if you need to.
I heard what you said about youth and inexperience and everything like that, but surely you can beat Saracens, Bristol, these guys on the trot away and here.
Yes.
There must be some belief that you can go all the way.
Well, there is belief. I don't want to dampen the fact, but I also want people in South Africa and supporters to understand the big guns are coming. Big guns are rolling out soon. And once La Rochelle and Leinster and Toulouse bring out those players, you're comparing like a squad of, say, 20 players out of 23 that are internationals. And you're playing against, nothing away from our boys, but you're playing youngsters that are still growing and learning the trade. But sport is an amazing thing. I mean, people follow sporting teams around the world, and they do it for that exact reason, for the day that they're there when a team that shouldn't win or a team that isn't supposed to win ends up winning. People talk about that all the time. All of you have got memories of being in a sports stadium where they thought there was no chance, and that team won. So hopefully our belief will grow, and we'll just get better and better. But I'm also, as I said, a realist. I mean, you see La Rochelle play Leinster, guys, and you see those games last weekend. La Rochelle running out and playing against Leicester Tigers. I mean, geez, it's a different level altogether. It's it's club rugby on steroids.
Okay, last two here. So Ken and then Tanis. Jake, just on the fatigue you mentioned.
Yeah.
Is that also to do with in that second half, especially the defence? The defence had been good, but
yeah.
it seemed there was a patch.
Well, I'd like to believe it's because of the travel. I mean, I'm going to actually hang my hat on that and say, coming back from Bristol, getting here on Monday, having flown via Dubai, again, it's quite bizarre because we fly Dubai, London. I mean, London, Dubai, Joburg, and the team we play against flies Paris, Joburg. So it's quite weird, You end up playing against the same team, but we'll get there. I mean, again, I don't want to sound like I'm moaning and I'm whinging. We're very lucky. Our owners pay business class flights for our players, so we are better off than the other teams. But there's no doubt that if you can go via London, straight from London, Bristol, London, straight overnight to Joburg, we would have got you earlier Monday morning, as opposed to by the time we got to Loftus on Monday, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now considering you play Saturday night on TV and you only get home on Monday, after lunch, it's a long haul but I'm hoping that's the reason. So I'm hoping now we don't have to travel. We play at home this week. We've got everyone, obviously, hopefully fit and available, and a couple of big stars coming back for us next week. So hopefully we'll take the win and the energy that it brings, and hopefully, as I said, if things go according to plan, we finish second, we get a home top 16. Gee, that's not a bad place to be as a young group of players.
Jake, when you look at the gradual quality that the French team uses,
yes.
You use the example of La Rochelle.
Yes.
Started the tournament slowly, but actually now looking like the defending champions we know. How important does that win against Bristol become? Because that's probably now the differential between worrying about finishing fourth and being in the line of finishing second.
Yeah, well, that's how close it was. I mean, if we got that penalty at the end of the game against Leon, which I thought could have been a penalty to us, we would have been top of the log today. So those are the margins of how small it is. But, guys, this is a big competition. But I just don't understand why people don't get it. This is the Champions Cup rugby. This is when footballers leave clubs in the Premier League because they don't get to play against the best players in the world. And I know we're starting small, I'm talking about in this competition, but I don't think the public understands. When the big guns come out and you play Leinster against La Rochelle and all of them are internationals. I mean, that's it. The only difference is they've got different coloured jerseys. It's all international players playing against each other. So I'm very proud that we are where we are. I mean, to beat Saracens here, to beat Bordeaux here, to beat Bristol there, and also within one play away from beating Leon. That's a hell of a step up from where we were as a group. So there's nothing there's got to be a positive vibe that's going to come out of that.
And at what point do you think that the South African public will actually start to buy into the Champions Cup? Will they only realize once the South African team actually wins the tournament, despite the fact that the finals are preset, that whoever plays in the final will then have to travel for the final?
Yeah, and the semi-final.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that. But we're not shareholders yet. I think maybe as we grow and as the public understand. I said yesterday, someone asked me as a Free State supporter, as a fanatical Free State supporter, he asked me why they play in Amsterdam. I mean, he's a rugby guy. He supports his team. He can't work out why. Because it's so new for us, you know. And I'm just getting back to Bordeaux, La Rochelle guys. Their budgets are 200 million. Our budgets are 90 million. I mean, you don't have to. You just do the sums, you know. Once you pay a player 10 million in South Africa, that basically means, you know, 10 million of your 90 million budget's gone to one player. So the model that we operate in is very, very different, and that's why I can only tell you that I'm really proud that with our model and with no overseas-based players and without Springboks for most of this campaign to come second, or possibly come second, is not a bad return on our investment.
Just a quick one on the form of Emrys Papier.
Yeah.
Do you think he's near to the Springbok team again?
You know what's nice, because I've sort of picked up with the players that I don't think they're really too concerned about that, and I don't mean that they don't want to be Springboks, but I think the emphasis is they want to do well at the Bulls. You know? So you get a guy like Gwesen, and you get a guy like Emrys, you know, and you get a guy like Akker van der Merwe. And the reality is they all have aspirations of being a Springbok, but I can just sense that their first priority is to make sure the Bulls do well, and whatever happens after that, well, that's a bonus for them, you know? And that's a nice place to be, because I mean, to be fair, Emmy tasted international rugby, and then for a long time hasn't been part of it, you know. So hopefully this is a catalyst for him to put his hand up when they pick these squads and these alignment camps, and they take him with. Then that'll be his opening to make sure he can play.
Obviously, someone did something right because he got his confidence back. It looks like.
Yeah. Well, we don't chase every player away and turn them into negative players. Sometimes we keep players here and they become good players too. So I don't want to, you know, it's not every guy who leaves here becomes a Springbok and only then, you know, someone else notices that he can play. Sometimes we keep players here and they also show they can play.
Okay. 2 questions online. One for Nathan, one for Ashfaq. Nathan.
Thank you very much, Lunga. Jake, congratulations with the win. Jake, unfortunately, I only have one. I actually want to ask 2 questions, but I'll get to the important question. Jake, now you've qualified for the Champions Cup, the last 16. You've got Lions, you've got up front, you've got Lions twice, the fixtures. Having to rest the block players in the next couple of weeks, and possibly facing the Stormers again, depending on the Lions, Saracens outing. But for yourself, what's important for you guys moving forward in terms of personnel, the lessons from this game and management of players, especially with all the travelling coming up?
Look, Nathan, the only way I'll know what I'm going to do in that month is once I know what happens to Saracens Leon. And if it means that we're going to have to leave certain players here, I mean, this week we left Morne Smith here, we left Cameron Hanekom here, we left, you know, I'm trying to think aloud which other players we left here. Willie Leroux came in. So you're going to have to box clever. You're not going to get away with keeping the same 27 players for a month overseas or 30 players overseas. We might have to box clever. But it's a new competition next week as well. We've ticked the box of making the top 16, but we still want to make sure we've got 2 of those 3 that you mentioned are home games in the next sort of 8 weeks. And it's important to keep that winning momentum going. So, you know, a lot of the Springboks are all back. They've had their leave, so I've ticked that box. There's still the group of players need 8 weeks off. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but every player is contracted through my players and through SA Rugby needs 8 weeks off, and it has to be consecutive. Otherwise, you cannot use them in the Currie Cup. So, en masse, if you don't give anyone off, the chances are you're going to have 50-something players that are plus the box will be away. You'll have 50-something players that can't play Currie Cup, and then you don't have. I'm not going to be able to find a team because the under-21s are playing. So there's a lot of planning going behind the scenes on who gets leave when. You know, when do they come back? Because you're not allowed to pick them for those eight weeks. So if you have 4 games in 8 weeks, you can't pick them for those 4 games. If you wait too long and there's 8 consecutive weekends, you can't play that player 8 consecutive weekends as well. So I don't want to give too much away, but there's a lot of planning that we're doing on who we think we should be keeping and who we think we should be releasing so that he can be ready at the back end of URC and Champions Cup, and obviously in the beginning of Currie Cup.
Last one, Ashfaq.
Thanks, Nunga. Hi, Jake. I know you've spoken about the other squads overseas being so powerful for their budgets and players and that, but I mean, you must have real belief that even if it's in a way last 16 game that you can win. I mean, you've beaten Leinster away.
Well,
you've had positive results in this.
It just depends. It just depends who you get, Ashfaq. I mean, that's what's so exciting about this tournament. You could get La Rochelle away, you know. You could get Leinster away. I mean, we could end up playing Leinster. I don't know how it works. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure about the points now that we finish on the weekend. But imagine you go Dragons away, Leinster away, then Leinster in the Champions Cup away. I mean, there are not many guys who play Ireland 2 consecutive weekends. I mean, that's an Irish international team. There are not many teams that would want to play Ireland international players 2 weekends in a row at the same stadium. So that's what makes it so unique about who you could get. You know, and I don't think there's an easy option. When people say, who would you like to get? I mean, I don't. It doesn't make any difference. I mean, because by the time you get to the back end of the competition, you can see all the coaches that have been around. They basically, all they're doing is they're making sure their big guns and the best players are going to be available for those do or die games.
Cool. Thank you.
At least you're sitting pretty in the URC, Jake. So I mean.
Yeah, but I mean,
able to sort of balance things out.
Yeah, but Ashfaq, again, I mean, I can't answer that. We changes quickly. Yeah? I mean, this is the one thing about sport; it changes quickly. At this point in time, you know, we're obviously happy where we are, but gee, I mean, it changes within 7 days.
Okay, Ashfaq, you in the naughty corner for the next round.